later. There's a lot of former and ex-suffragette people in the room, current suffragette people. I started with suffragette in 1987. Jim was my work dad. Penny, I don't know if you know this. Penny and I are only a couple months apart in age, and I actually shared an office with Jim for many years. And he always referred to himself as my work dad, and so so I reciprocated to him, and I was his work daughter, and we always had a good time. We had similar political interests, and we used to. Scott, you didn't hear this. We used to sneak away and go sit in the car and listen to Rush Limbaugh and stuff during work hours sometimes. But it was all that assembler programming made your head hurt. You needed a break. So, Jim and I always had a good time. We'd laugh about everything. But I got to tell you, the first time I ever met Jim Addis, well, it's actually interesting, and those who worked at Suffragette knows that Scott Watanabe and Jim were like partners forever. And when I first started at Suffragette, all you ever heard was Jim and Scott, and I thought it was one guy. But it's not, it's two guys. And when I first started at Suffragette, I worked in the training department. I taught 8 of his classes. And my manager, a guy named Jim Poole, who Bruce used to work for him as well, the very first time I was going to meet Jim and Scott, my manager, Jim, told me, he says, okay, now we're going to the hallowed ground in Suffragette, and you get 6 questions, and that's all. And so I'm like all nervous, and I'm going to go meet Jim and Scott for the first time. And I walk in, and I've got this picture of Jim in my head from what everybody's told me. I've never actually met him before, and I was totally afraid of him. Because I was like, I was a kid. And so I walk in, and there's Scott and Jim sitting there, and I'm starting to ask my questions, and I'm just panicking. I'm like sweating. And Scott, I don't know if you remember this, but I was just so nervous. And Jim looked at me, and he just made this kind of crazy comment about, like, what is wrong with you? And I just said, hey, look, Jim, I'm just like really nervous. I'm a newbie at the company, and you guys know everything. So anyway, who knew that 2 or 3 years later, I'd end up working with these guys and sharing an office with Jim for so many years. So Jim was just a really, really, really great guy to know and to work with. And, I miss him a lot. We had lunch with him occasionally. I travel a lot with the company, but Stan and Dick and you guys, I know you guys had lunch with him almost monthly, and we really do miss him, and that's really all I have to say. I just want to share a couple of memories with you guys. Thank you.